Start.
All right.
I'll basically let Gib introduce himself.
Oh.
This is Gib Bean from a longtime resident of Harts Grove, and he was a paratrooper during World War II. And Gib, go ahead and start.
Okay. Well, Gerald is my name, and I was a member of the 507 parachuting battalion. I was communication wire chief at the wire section, and I got up to rank of staff sergeant. So let me start out a little early here. We used to, back in 1st of May 1942, I used to walk around, you'd see those signs that said Uncle Sam wants you, you know. So this one day I was working third shift, I got out of the shop and I said, well, that's enough of that, Uncle Sam wants. I think I'll see what he's got. So I went up to Ashtabula. I went in the Navy, then the Marines, then the Army. So I figured Army was what I want. So I went in there and asked this guy, told him I'd sign up to be a general, you know. He didn't think I needed one of those, so he probably figured he had a sucker here or something. But he says, I do need 2 people this semester or quarter for airborne. And I says, what's airborne? Well, he says, you go by airplane. Well, he says, well, what do you do then? Well, he says, then you jump out and parachute down. And I says, well, I don't know. I says, I've never been around airplanes very much. The closest I ever got to one, I looked inside a Piper Cub once, you know. And so then he says it pays $50 a month. Hazardous pay. So oh, that's good. I said, well, what does a regular GI make? You know, well, he says $21. Well, I said, according to news reports and stuff, anything in the war is going to be hazardous. How come the thing's for $50? Well, he says, so I said, well, then I got to think, well, I might as well try. So then he gives you that piece of paper that says, I'll jump out of an airplane in flight. And I said, well, I don't know what I want to do. Oh, he says, try it. You can always quit, you know. You don't like it. So I signed the paper. And he says, I'll let you know in a few days. I got to get one more fella. So on the way out, I said, hey, what happens to me if this chute doesn't open? Well, he says, don't worry, son, you'll be the first one down. So then about a week later, he called up, or sent a letter out, and got to be at Ashtabula, New York Central Station at 8 o'clock. So I went up there, and he had another fella. His name was Herbert Burroughs. His dad was a head doctor in the Ashtabula Hospital at that time. So Herbie and I, we got on the train, went to Cleveland, picked up 50, 60 other guys, just regular draftees, went to Fort Benjamin Harrison. And we stayed all night. The next morning at 6, we got up and ate our breakfast and went into this big hall where you go to get inducted. Went in there and took all your clothes off. 200 guys running around with no clothes on. And this took your turn in line, they had 5 or 6 doctors there. I think they were doctors, they had white coats on. Well, you get up to him and he says, can you see that, read that sign over there? You know, it's probably 6 feet square, it said ABC. Yeah, hey. So he writes down, sight, good. He'll listen to your chest, and he says, keep breathing, and you're all right. And, well, that was, then they give you your clothes, and then you got all decked out in your uniform on, then they scored you in. The ones that didn't pass went into another place. And then, the next morning, that afternoon, they all told us the indoctrination of the Army and stuff. Next morning, I was on KP because my name is Beans. See, they go all alphabetical order, see. So I was on KP, and they fed 3,000 people in that mess hall. And we broke eggs for scrambled eggs. Oh, I don't know how many eggs we broke. Cases of them. Put them in those 20-gallon cans. And then at lunch, then after that they put me on garbage detail. And these garbage cans all out back, you know. And we had to clean them out. And lunchtime come, they had wieners and sauerkraut. I'll never forget that. 8 garbage cans full of wieners and sauerkraut. And there in the Army camp in those days always had a hog farm, you know, because that's where they feed their hogs. And they didn't cook it then, but they made them do it later. But anyway, the garbage truck came by, and I guess these guys on the garbage truck, they got their lunch in there, but when they see it was wieners and sauerkraut, there's no way. So we dumped these cans out, and we had to put soap and water, scrub brush, or a brush, and scrub those garbage cans, and here comes this little old buck sergeant out, looking at them. He looked everywhere, all the seams around the cans and on the lid, and he passed it. Sure glad of that. Well, then the next day next morning we got on a train and we was going south. Nobody knew where we was going. So finally we saw a sign that said something about Texas. There we were. So then we kept going, we got to this camp. Seems like every camp has a railroad spur, you know, where they back in. Well, anyway, it was Camp Walters. That was the home of the trapdoor spider and the scorpion. And how these people how they decide where to build these camps, I don't know. They pick some bad places. But anyway, we learned our basic training there, plus I was in an anti-tank battalion, 37 millimeter. If you ever been down to the Legion Hall down here, that's the same gun that I practiced on, or learned to use. And I'd say probably 13 weeks later, they called out our names, and there was a few of us, 24 I think, and they put us on a Pullman car and took us to Fort Benning. Well, these Pullman cars, this was a nice one. They even had a porter come in, make our beds, come in the morning and put them up. And we ate our meals in a hotel dining room. And but the bad part, they'd hook you on any train that was going that way. Maybe go 50 miles a day and maybe 300 miles or more, you know. When we finally got to, well, this one place, we stopped in Alabama. And it was an evening meal. And of course, everybody ate the same thing. You couldn't get off the menu, you know. And they they had a couple of girls walking around, and they were looking for pen pals. So this one girl, she come up to our table, and I said, well, I don't write much, but I got a friend of mine, and he likes to write letters. So I sent him over to this fellow's name was Smedley. So she went over and talked to him, and was that. So we finally get to Fort Benning, and we go into our parachute training, and that was 4 weeks, and it was pretty tough. They were really hard on you. But then I was Barnes, Bean, and Burke, and that's alphabetic. So everywhere we went, we had to go Barnes, Bean, and Burke. So, well, we go to jump, of course, you're in an airplane, Barnes, Bean, and Burke, you know. And Burke, he was acting a little strange that week we were packing our chutes. You know, they give you a week, you have to pack her. They show you how on Friday, how you pack your own chute on Friday, see, for the third week. And he was acting kind of strange, and he told Barnes and he didn't know what he could do with him. So we gave him a few encouraging words. So Monday came, put on our chutes, got in the airplane, Barnes, Bean, and Burke. Barnes first, then Bean, but never saw Burke after that. He wouldn't show. So they never see him. They don't take him back to your camp. They take him somewhere else, and the supply sergeant will take all his belongings and ship him out. And it's nothing degrading or anything like that, because if you just can't do it, you can't, that's all. And they just put him in another outfit. But anyway, that was Barnes and Bean then. I don't know what the other guy's name was. Never got close to him. Well, we was there. Oh, we had a 10-day furlough. I come home. And then I went back, and we moved to Alabama. They made a new area over there. See, Fort Benning is right on the edge of Alabama. It separated the state line of the Chattahoochee River. And we were 9 miles from the main post, and we had a grass airstrip. Where we were airborne went, there was always an airfield nearby. And we did all tactical training and stuff like that. We mortar range and hand grenades, rifle range. We just kept doing that. Infiltration courses where you crawl into the wire. And some second lieutenant was out in the sharecropping fund. They had found a dead mule. We brought that in. We're going back there that practice on this dead mule, brother. It's pretty bad. I made one jab, and that was it. I figured if I ever had a shell in my rifle, I'd never use my bayonet. Well, anyway, we stayed there till March. They took us over the main post, and they showed us how to run locomotives and different kind of equipment in case you ever needed to escape or something. You found a steam engine sitting there you could take and go, see? Well, anyway, tanks, we went to the 10th Armored Division, and they give us tank rides and let us drive a little old fella around, those small ones. And we did things like that while we were there. And then they said, we're moving out. Well, but then all of us who had gone home wants to go overseas, We did all this training, let's do something with it. That wasn't so. So we went to Louisiana on maneuvers. We went to Barksdale Field, and I think we got there on a Sunday, and that was it. We just had good barracks, and did our calisthenics, and run 5 miles every morning, and listened to lectures on hand grenades and tactics and stuff. And so Thursday came and they said, we're going to go on maneuvers. We're jumping tomorrow morning. So that was all right. It was a little excitement. So the next morning, Friday morning come, we all got out. The airport was right there. We got on the plane, took off, and they always fly you an hour or so, or 2 hours, you know, to get you used to the flight. Well, then we jumped, and it was in a very woodsy spot. We had numerous ones hanging in the trees, and then we got them all down. Of course, they give you a 30-foot rope that you carry in case you get stuck up. You can slide down the rope, because this one fellow, he got knocked out. Somehow he got bumped, some knocked him out, because when you make a tree landing, you put your feet together, you know. Well, you don't fill in. But anyway, I don't know what, he was a, well, I'll tell you about him later. His name was Bill Stewart. So we had to go up the tree. We had always took a pair of climbers with us. We went, you know, pole climbers. So if somebody did get in a tree, we'd always skin up and get him. So we went up and got him down. He come to by the time we got up there. And he lowered himself down, then we had to get the chute out of the tree. And so we got lined up and went on our objective. Well, our objective was a bridge on, I don't know, it was kind of senseless to me. We got down to this bridge, and it looked like something you'd see on Windsor Road down here, crossing a little old street. And here are these guys running around with their armbands on, and they were all officers. I think that's mostly for officers, I don't know. But anyway, they said, you won. That was very good. Glad to hear it. So we got back on the trucks and we went back to camp, or back to Shreveport. And, well, we was there for a couple of more days, so then we got on a troop train. And this is a doozy. This one had these gas lights in it, you know, and the seats was a board with just one piece of cloth stretched over them. And the bathrooms was just a big hole in the room there, you know. And I mean, these were old. And we got, what? We didn't know where we were going, so we ended up back into this camp again. There was Alliance Army Air Base. And, well, that summer, there was so many young people left the ranches and stuff like that they let us GIs go out and help the ranchers and the farmers with their work. You know, they'd take us out in a Jeep and we'd work all day and then come back. And they'd give us a break, you know, and let us learn how other people did it. Well, this went on. Then we had just regular tactics, you know, and we did have some live fire problems that we went out to. They'd give you a bandolier of ammunition and put something up on a hillside and everybody shoot holes in it. And 3 of us for recreation. There was not too much around there. There's this small town and there's probably 3,000 GIs around there. So this other 2 of me and two other guys and I, we bought a car, a 1930 Model A Ford Roadster. We paid $50 for it. It was a pretty good car. And we'd go to different towns. And this one day, we went out to this little town called Rushville. We'd been there 2 or 3 times. And some Sunday afternoon, I went into the American Legion. They had coffee and donuts in there and pop. So I went in there, and there was a very attractive young woman playing the piano. Yeah. And I kind of snuck around, got acquainted, you know. And by Joe, as time went by, she turned out to be my wife. She's right over there. For 51 years, so I hope it lasts. But anyway, we were getting kind of desperate then, you know. Here it is, we've been there a year and we hadn't gone anywhere, you know. Of course, we never was in a regiment or anything. For a while there, we were in the 1st Airborne Brigade, and then a few other ones that didn't amount to anything. They hadn't panned out. So, the ones that my 2 buddies that bought this car, their name was Barnes and Buck Thomas. He's a little guy. Well, you can say Buck Thomas. Well, anyway, Barnes, he was 6 foot tall, weighed 130 pounds. They wasn't going to shoot him because he's going to stand way over in his clothes. And, well, we thought we'd have to go home and tell the people that we got shell shocked on the borderline. So we got battle fatigue on the rifle range. We couldn't. So finally, about 1st October, they come around and said, "Send your radios home. Anything you don't want, send it home." So we figured something's going on, either that or making too much noise. But anyway, about a week later, we had to sell our car. We paid $50 for it, and this fella in Rushville says, "If you drive it in my yard, I'll pay you $50 for it." So we did. He used it to hunt pheasants. So anyway, so about the 1st of November, we got on a train, another troop train, and we didn't want to go to South Pacific. And if we'd gone out of there, we'd have gone west. And if we'd gone east, we'd go to European theater. So sure enough, we went east. And I don't know, 4 or 5 days later, we got to Camp Shanks, Indiana, or New Jersey, I think it is. And they put us on this boat. This is a big, I think the second one Noah made, it was old. Well, it was run by Indians. You know, it was a British ship, but it was crewed by Indians, not those wild ones on the west. These are ones from India. Well, it was a big ship. It was called a Strothenhammer. So we took the northern route. In November, the northern route across the Atlantic is pretty rough. They tell you, if you fall in the water, you got 10, 12 minutes, and then you're a goner. Well, I can see that. And the submarines then weren't as bad as they were at first. They were getting them, you know. Had good submarine coverage. Well, anyway, it took us 10 days. You can't, in a convoy, you can't go any faster than the slowest ship, see? Otherwise, you wouldn't have a convoy. Well, anyway, this battleship Iowa or something was off on our starboard, port to the left side. Well, every so many minutes they change course. See? So if they do at a torpedo, you can outrun it. But anyway, the wind some days would blow so hard, we'd go up on the A deck for exercise, you know. And there'd be days that we couldn't get up there. The wind would be blowing so hard it'd blow you right off. And this ship, when it turned into the waves, it'd go up over and the screws would come out of the water. And then when it turned the other way and went like this, oh boy, you know, the guys got seasick. 10 days of seasick, whoa. I felt anyway, we finally ended up in Liverpool, England. We went up around down the Irish Sea. And we had to stay there 5 days, or 3 or 4 days to get quarantine or something. So then they took us off the ship. We figured we'd go, and they put us right back on another one. So this time we went to Belfast, Northern Ireland. We got there was trucks waiting for us to take us to our areas. But we went to Port Rush. It was on clear on the northern tip of Ireland. It was a nice little town. And there they put us in billets. We lived right in town. Next to our billet was a TV, you know. And they were scattered all over town, this whole town. They had an empty building. They put GIs in it. We ate twice a day. All the time I was overseas, we only ate twice a day. And it got daylight at 9, and it got dark at 3. So we did most of our tactical work at night. And the islands, well, it's a beautiful country. It's all green and neat and all that. And we were up there, and we were, I think, 5 kilometers from Bush Mills. You know what that is. I don't know what you guys do or not. That's the Irish whiskey, Bush Mills. And if you had a bottle, you could go up there for a couple of shillings to get it filled up, you know. We couldn't have it in our perry, or in our billet. But there was other places to store it, you know. And February 14th was Valentine's Day, was Sergeant Welch's birthday. So we thought we'd have a good time. So we broke out the Irish whiskey, and I guess it's pretty stout. But anyway, some nut decides to go swimming. Well, it never snows there, you know. It was cold though. Well, anyway, good thing the tide was coming in, because it washed us all out. But they have a big tide up there, you know, 6, 8 feet or 6, 7 feet. But yeah, well, we really got into trouble doing that job. So then, probably April 1st, or somewhere in that area, they put us on trucks again, had all our equipment, time to move out. So we went down to Belfast, got on a ship, and went right across the channel to, I can't remember that town. Well, anyway, we got on trains there and we went to Nottingham, England. We were stationed in a place called Tollerton Castle, and this humongous castle, you know. And we lived in tents. And every morning we do our 5-mile run, then our hour of calisthenics, and then go in for some more talks on hand grenades and things like that. And then, a month, 6 weeks later, one end of our mess hall was a Quonset hut, where our mess hall was. Well, one end of it, they built this sand table, you know. And it looked like some kids were making some, you know. Had houses, streets, and trees and everything else on it. So we figured that was something going on there. So they take us out and we'd study that, you know. Every time you went by, you'd look at it to get it good in your mind. So about June the 2nd, we figured there's something in the air, so about June the 2nd, they take us to this airfield. You don't take all you take's yourself. You don't take anything else in your musette bag and your pistol belt and that. But all your gear, you just put it in bags and leave it on your bunk. So we went to this airfield, and I think we were supposed to drop the 5th of June. You know, the 4th, like midnight, 11 o'clock would be the 4th, and then we just, well, that was when Eisenhower, it was too rough. The channel was too rough, and they couldn't drop us there, because they couldn't get to us while we'd be gone, you see. Well, so the next day came by, and they, 8 o'clock in the evening, they said, let's get going. So then we had to put all our equipment on. It takes you a good time, because I had a roll of mile of wire stuffed under my reserve chute. I don't know what that was, no good. Oh, that reminds me that they always thought that was the reserve chute. That's where you carried your clean underwear. Well, anyway, and you had, I forget, 8 or 10 bandoliers of ammunition for your weapon, and hand grenades, all you wanted to carry, and then you had 3 days of K ration. That's 9 boxes that you stuffed anywhere you could find. Then your rifle, which was had underneath your harness. And in those days, you had to, in order to hook your parachute up, you had to bend way over to get your legs strapped, you know. But later on, they made a quick release where you just hit it and it opens up. You pull the fork out. Well, anyway, we got all ready to go, but I mean, you're loaded down. You can't walk real good. Well, you can't get in the airplane yourself. You have to have help. So there's always a couple of guys there to help you, from the crew chief on the plane and somebody else. So about 11, we got on the plane, and it takes a while to assemble all those planes into their echelon, you know. And at 1 o'clock, they give us the order to stand up and hook up. Well, we were supposed to do that. Our course was between the Isle of Jersey and the Isle of Guernsey. Because when I looked out, I could see the islands, you know. And then we went straight across the peninsula. Well, they were supposed to knock the flak train out. They had a flak train that runs up and down the coast, you know, the Germans did. Well, they were supposed to have that knocked out, but I guess they missed one part of it, because it was pretty thick. And these pilots, they take an evasive action. And you're standing there with weighing probably 300 pounds hanging on this cable, and these guys are going like this, you know. And we did hear slugs hit the plane, and finally the green light came on. I was glad to get out of there. I don't know why, but anyway, we got out, and coming down, I before I looked down, of course, you go where the chute wants to go, so you can't steer it or anything. looked down and there was a house kind of over here, and the guy jumped before me, I see him down my leg. Just before I landed, I see him hit the ground, the road. He landed on a blacktop road. Name was A.W. Smith. And I come down in a garden full of cabbage. And they had good sized cabbage over there. And you had your knife on your leg, see, you could unbuckle your stuff, you cut yourself on your shoe, see. And cut myself out of the chute and gathered my gear, and then this house probably go from here to that building across the street. Boy, a lot of talking, chattering going on in there. And I didn't know it was German or French or what it was, because I couldn't figure it. Well, anyway, 3 people came out of the house. So I jump over this hedgerow, or a little off the end of the garden, I jump over that. There was a creek there. Now it was probably 5-6 feet lower than the hedgerow. And I'm carrying all this stuff. And get over that, and I see where Alan Smith was in up on the road, so I ran up there. And he's about coming to, so I took my knife and cut his straps out, you know, so we could get him out. And he grabbed his gear, and we went off the road into the creek. And that creek that I jumped in before, see? But anyway, you kind of get all excited and stuff like that when things like that go on, because, well, I said, Smith, what are those guys? What are those people? I don't know. So I said, give me a hand grenade. So I got a hand grenade, I pulled the pin, threw the blame pin away. So I'm standing there with his hand grenade. I says to Smith, hey Alan, what am I going to do with this? Where's the pin? I said, I threw it away, you idiot. You know. But anyway, we thought for a few seconds. And this was a creek, and there was a lot of these flat stones in it, you know. So Alan said, hey, let's put it under the stone. You hold the handle down, we put this rock on it. So that's the way we did that. And then we went a little ways further, and you had these clickers. It sounded like crickets, you know, or something. Well, it is. And, no, it's funny. You'd click it, and the guy'd say, who you, who you? Clicking his back. You get all kinds of people, you know. Well, anyway, we finally got probably 6 or so of us. And here we are. We don't know where we are from Adam. You know, I mean, you're on the ground somewhere. That's about all you can say. And we went down this hedgerow and we got shot at. We see the muzzle flash and the slug went through the leaves of the hedgerow. And so we really deploy a scrimmage line, you know, 6 of us. And we sneak forward, and here's a little white pup tent, you know. And there was a fire going there. It still had ashes, and it was smoldering a little bit. And I don't know, somebody said, come out of there. You know, there was nobody in there. So nobody wanted to, so some guy put a bayonet on his rifle and put holes in the tent to see who was in there. Nobody there. So we went, probably another hedgerow further, and we come to a railroad track. Well, we'd seen the railroad track on the sand table. See, it would come out of St. Mary Glee, going towards Sherburne, I think, up around, you know. Well, this railroad track, and then the guy said, hey, I know where we're at now. Yeah. I bet you. So, wasn't long after that, so down this railroad track, probably a half a mile or so, there was a train coming, and it blew up. The engine, they got that train. And so we went a little ways further, and we came to a road, because we saw it on the sand table. And here's, it was starting to get daylight then. And here's probably, 100 guys, maybe more, I don't know, all sitting along the road that they assembled in. And, our commanders, I don't know where they were, they could have been there, I don't know, but we're sitting there. And the first German we saw, we heard a motorcycle coming up the hill. Well, there it was, a German motorcycle and a guy in a sidecar. And they didn't get far. So that was the first ones we saw of those. And then, in order to get to our objective, we had to cross a river, because we dropped maybe 4 kilometers from our objective. We had to cross the river. And we go down to follow this road, and there's a bridge that was over the WWII River. It's defended by, there's about 18 Krauts there, Germans there. And before we could get to our objective, we had to take the bridge, So we finally, after a fashion, we finally prevailed and took the bridge. And the first bad thing I see what the Germans were doing, they had a girl there about 14 years old, and they'd been brutalizing her for I don't know how long, but she was just about insane at that point. And that didn't enjoy the GIs to the Germans any, and 4 of them surrendered. So we didn't know what to do with them, but we didn't figure we ought to shoot them. You don't do that. We don't. They do, but we don't. So somebody got the idea to send them back to regimental headquarters. Well, I didn't know where that was. So some guy volunteered. He says, I'll take them back. And, well, I don't hear anymore. We don't hear any more about that. So then there was 125 of us crossed this bridge. And then they'd flooded the dikes. They opened the dikes up and the water, there was, acres, 1,000 acres of water, just water. Every lowland was full of water. And this bridge and the causeway was probably 100 yards long, because there's water on both sides of it. But we got across without a problem. And then we went to take this town we were supposed to take, see? Well, we got down to this town, and there's a lot more Germans in it, and the intelligence told us there was. We couldn't get in. So we'd get, probably 500 yards from the town, and then, meanwhile, the Germans retook the bridge behind them, where we came from. And there we were stuck in this, it was called Timmy's Orchard. He was a colonel at the time. He was my colonel all through the war. And there were 125 of us in this area. We had a radio, but they wouldn't acknowledge us because every day you go, you have to have a certain call number, otherwise they wouldn't acknowledge you because they have Germans speak as good English as we did, So that next morning these Germans, they attack us. They're like they're on schedule. They're regimented or something. 7 in the morning, they'll attack you. Then you push them back and they'll counterattack. And then like 5 in the afternoon, they'll attack you again, you know. And, well, anyway, the next morning, we looked a little away from our perimeter. There's 2 or 3 gliders there, you know, when the gliders came in. And we went out, or we did sneak out there. They had a guy sniping at them, but they found this one glider full of mines, teller mines, you know. So we got those, and another one had a 40 millimeter and a tank gun. So we got that. And the third one, I don't know what it had. Well, anyway, this had a tank gun, had, I don't know, probably 25 rounds in them with a gun. So we pulled that in our perimeter, and, well, every time these Germans attacked, it used up a lot of our ammunition, you know, we had to shoot back. And we had no mortars, nothing. We had this tank full about 500 yards away and sneak out on the edge of the woods and take us some shots at us, you know. Well, that didn't help any. And so the third day we're there, we had to either surrender or try to get out. And the only way we could get out was go back through those swamps, because the other ways were all closed up. So, just looking a little bit here. Well, anyway, so daylight came. Well, one of the worst things of my life I had to do. The third day in the afternoon, we had to bury some dead. And it's a terrible job, burying your own dead, you know. But it had to be done. So we did that. And the next morning, we were going to have to go. Either surrender or try to get out. So we decided we'd try to get out, even if we got our feet wet going through the swamps. Well, anyway, it was foggy that morning, and just getting daylight, this figure loomed out of the fog. It was the 90th Division came in, and they saved our necks that time. Well, anyway, the night before, we finally got them to acknowledge who we were. So the night before, they had a little street that ran out of Amphreyville. That's where most of our fire was coming from, you know. And they gave them the coordinates on the map, and they I don't know how many guns they had, but they shelled. We got in our holes because they said it's close, you might get a stray shell in there. So we got my hook in the holes, and I was down so far I put it in pipe me hair, you know. And, but they shelled that place. The next morning, when we left there, went back to across the river. They recaptured, retook the bridge. I never saw such carnage in my life. The Germans used a lot of horses, you know. And they must have caught these people doing something, because it make you ill just to walk through it, you know. And animals over there, cows and horses and stuff like that, well, most of them were dead. You know, you'd see 10 cows out in the field dead. You know. And another thing that didn't endure us to the Germans, the second morning we were there, this was a farmhouse where we was at, and they had 2 or 3 cows, and 2 of them was milking cows, you know. And they were out eating grass out around the farmhouse there. They had a boy about, 10 years old. He went and brought him in. Well, the next day, he went after him. The Germans killed the cows, and then they killed the boy on purpose. I mean, a 10-year-old kid. And that doesn't endear you to these people a bit when you see them do that. Well, anyway, we got out of there after that mess. Then we fought, well, hedgerow to hedgerow. You can see the map there. Some days you take one hedgerow, and some days you couldn't take any, you know. And these Germans there, they were familiar with them. And they do all sorts of little sneaky things. They put booby traps. They'd zero a machine gun in. If there was only one gate where you had to go through or go past it, they'd shoot you if you went through there. You know, sometimes you had to run and roll and everything else to get through. I had this friend of mine. His name was Quimby. He was from Bellingham, Washington, and all he ever wanted to do was go back to Washington and raise apples. Well, he didn't make it that one day. I suppose odds are against you to let so many, you're bound to get one, you know. But then I had another friend, named was George Boots. On the hedgerows, they'd tie a ball, butterfly bomb, we call it, a round thing. And then if you hit a tripwire, this would open up, and this thing would fall down. And when it opened up, it armed it, see? And George Boots got one of those. He got killed in that. And, there was many more. But anyway, as we went down through the hedgerows, we was wearing this impregnated clothing in case they gassed us, you know. Our jumpsuits were impregnated. And after about 2 weeks in the hot and the weather and stuff like that, they were pretty raunchy. And all the thing we had to eat was K-ration. And that's when you were hungry. Sometimes you ate, you wasn't hungry. Breakfast we had chopped eggs and bacon. For lunch we had American cheese and ham. And supper we had stew. That's the only three you got. So if you like chopped eggs and bacon, you traded with somebody else for something else, you know, which was a good deal. Well, hey, got something to eat anyway. Then after we was there, we was getting pretty well shot up. We was losing our men right and left. And of course then my job, I was just another rifleman there, see, because they had walkie-talkies and all that kind of stuff. They didn't need wire. And he was just a rifleman, like the cooks. The cooks, they were just, had no kitchen, so they were riflemen. And we got to this one place one day. It was about the end of our stint. We weren't too strong then, but we were still fighters. It was called Hill 95. So we had to take the 2nd Battalion, that's the one I was in, we had to take that hill because it was high ground, see? So from 10 to 12, the night before, there was 100 guns, artillery pieces, fired for 2 hours on this hill. I'd say it was probably, 5 acres, you know, but big trees, wooded. And that's a lot of noise for 2 hours. And we were only probably, half a mile away. And at about 3 o'clock, we went up there. It was dark, and we go up through, and we got to walk right down in. And The next morning at daylight, here are all these Germans in the holes, and we're right in the middle of it, you know? And, boy, that was hand-to-hand combat that time. Because there was some guys in holes jabbing each other, you know? Some of these guys had phosphorus grenades, and they're the worst kind. And they throw those in a hole with a couple of Germans in there, man, they come out of there like rabbits, you know, if they could. But we fought for, I'd say 2 or 3 hours. And the time we took the hill, we had 14 killed, and I don't know how many wounded. And I was telling you about this Bill Stewart that was hanging up in the tree. So he and I were going to the outpost with a wire, and a sniper got him. He lived down here in Boardman, just a young guy, 21 years old, nice kid. That was bad. Well, anyway, we secured the area, and then we just went someplace else, I don't remember, got on trucks and went a little way. And we held the line. We were just defensive then, we just held the line. And then, I gotta see what, and then the 8th Division finally got there to relieve it. Well, we had a time with them because they'd never been in combat, and it was a little tough to get them to stay on the line, you know. They just need to be indoctrinated a little bit. But they said, we'll relieve you tomorrow at 4. Okay. So word come, can't relieve you at 4, at 5, they have to eat their mess. And their kitchen was working. Here we'd been there for 36 days and hadn't even had a loaf of bread or anything, you know. And so we stayed there, well, fine. What else could we do? And we got on trucks and we went back. Oh, I don't know where we went to. We got to a wooded area that had a creek in it. A pretty good sized creek. And here was, they had showers set up, you know, just a big pipe with these sprinkler can nose on them, you know. And well, you took it up first shower we had since we'd been there, you know. And they gave us clean clothes, all new clothes, and made a shave. And then we got on the truck and went back to the beachhead. And here set this LST up on the bank, I don't know, probably 100 yards from the water, and they put us on that, and the guys were wondering what we're going to have to do, push this thing off and carry it down there. Well, anyway, that evening, or the next day, I think it was, we was on our way to England, and we had roast turkey and everything that went with it. And I mean, that was good. That was the first meal we'd had. So we get to England, and we go back up to Nottingham. And, well, they take us out of the 82nd, and they were making a new division, the 17th. Well, when you make a new division, you always get a veteran division to put in the new division, see? That's what they tell me anyway. Well, anyway, we didn't have enough room in Nottingham for this stuff, so we went to a place called Tidworth Barracks. And there was more room there, but we had barracks there. And I'd say we were there 2 weeks, and they pulled us out of there, and they sent us to a place called Barton Stacey. It was on that plain in England, what's it called? Well, anyway, it's where the Stonehenge is, you know. That was English Army artillery range. That, you know, it was, they did tank things there and stuff. Well, that's where we stayed in Tidworth for, till December the 21st. We're a small we're airborne small and moves fast. Well, we were getting ready to eat supper, and word came. Word came, we gotta be out of the camp at 2 on planes going to Rheims. Well, we heard about the boat, but we don't have, we got only paper we get was the Stars and Stripes, see? Sometimes you didn't always get that. And we knew there was a breakthrough, so, and there again, all you do is just stuff your stuff. You got an A bag and a B bag. You never unpack your B bag. And the A bag is what you use currently, you know, and put your stuff in. Well, you just take your stuff and punch it in there and leave it on your cot, and away you go. So we got on a plane, went to Rheims, and it was dark when we got there, and we landed, and we was walking to the truck. Some fella come down the road, says, "Hey, did you see an airplane down there anywhere?" "No." "Don't think we did." I said, "That's my Mustang. I got a flat tire on it." And I heard somebody in the background said, "What they won't think of next, putting wheels on horses." You know. Well, anyway. So we get down into, we go to Luxembourg, we're on the Meuse River, and we can't let these Germans cross the Meuse. And we were, not far from Bastogne, and we stayed there overnight, slept in this big old building, but we got on trucks. These are, we call them cattle trucks. They were just semis, these semi-trailers with just, you know, sideboards on it. And I mean, it was cold. And these old jockeys who was driving them wasn't slowing up any, you know. But we did find if you sit somewhere and you put one leg up against somebody else, you'll stay warm. Well, anyway, and we got down there, and we stayed in this place, and then the next morning we got down along took up our fortifying position, and somebody sees some lights flashing up on the hillside back of us, you know, and one of the natives saw that light flashing. So they sent a squad up there, and sure enough, it's 2 Germans dressed in GI uniform. They were signaling with their mirrors across the other side, see? And well, we didn't want any prisoners, so I guess the Luxembourg people wanted them. So they gave them to them. And I don't know what happened to them, I have an idea. But we stayed there a few days. Oh, not a few days, probably a day or so. And then we took out, we went out to meet them, see? And about that time, this German dude that was running all these tanks, he couldn't get to his the fuel supply that he was supposed to capture. Did you watch The Longest Day, that movie? Well, they got that on there. Well, he didn't make it. They blew him up finally. He was gone home. But anyway, then they started back. But when they said they were walking back, they didn't. They had vehicles, a lot of them. They took with them. But anyway, we was chasing them. We're on foot. Cold, oh man, it was cold. Feet cold all the time, hands cold. And every now and then they'd shell you, you know, they'd fire a few shells in, you'd have to dive down in the snow. And I never heard Adolf call so many names in my life. And some of them I can't even remember. Well, anyway, we get to, a ways, and we saw planes coming over, and they dropped equipment boats. That was in Bastogne, and we were resupplying them. And we went on, and we got to this little town called Monty. Oh, it's not very big at all, but the Germans were still in that town. And we had a pretty tough time rooting them out, but we got them out. And then there was a bunch of them where they would go to circle, catch them in a town called Hoofeline. So we took out after them, and they had all kind of delay in action things, you know. They all roadblocks, they'd blow trees down, and put a sniper or somebody in a building and hold up the front. But we finally got after them, got them, and we got the Hoofeline, but they'd slipped away, most of them. So then we went into the Hertigan Forest, that's the Ardennes it's called. And this is a real piece of work, this forest. It's like acre after acre of pine trees, you know. And then other places they have other trees, of different kinds. I don't know whether they have maple there or what they were. Well, anyway, these Germans were familiar with those places. And the only way you could do, you had to follow these little old lanes that was there, you know. And they'd mine those things. And when they were walking down that road with a communication jeep, you know, I had a motor pool guy who was always the driver, and we're walking beside it, and the truck right up in front of us was loaded with mortar shells, and he hit a mine. But he was only creeping along, you know, and blew his front wheel off and the engine loose. But you know, sometimes explosions, you can get what's called a sympathetic detonation. You set one off here, and 2 feet away, that will blow up too. You know, that's what we were sweating out when that blew up. Oh boy. Well, anyway, we backed that Jeep out of there. That guy did on the same tracks as he went in, and we followed the tracks out. Of course, these mines, they're pressure plates. If you weigh 150 pounds, you can step on them. It's according to what they set them at. You know, they're not anti-personnel. They're anti-tank mines. It takes pretty good pressure to set them off. So, you know, and well, I don't know what happened. We just took off then and caught up with a column. Well, anyway, there you had when you slept at night, you dug a hole or a slit trench big enough for 2 people. But one person couldn't sleep alone in there, they'd liable to freeze to death. You know, I mean, it got cold. And if there were 2 people in this hole, you kept warm. And you wouldn't dare do that now, they'd have you up for something. Well, anyway, this one morning we get up, I just found this, I got to call this guy. His name is Bernard Raskin. He's kind of a bald-headed guy. He wasn't too old, but he's bald-headed. Real deep voice, you know. But anyway, he's out there, he's got his canteen cup full of snow, and he's all hunched over like this cold, and he sprinkles that lemon powder that you get in a K ration. You got lemon powder, some kind of coffee or something, you know. Well, he sprinkled that on there and he's eating it. Oh, brother. And we had to shave every so often. They made us shave when, you know, that was a job, well, I'm telling you. Whiskers that long. Well, anyway, we had this guy from Michigan, a little short guy. He's tougher than a boot. Well, anyway, he shaved whatever he wanted. He'd take a razor blade in his hands, in his fingers, and he'd shave. Cold as it was, he'd be shaving like, oh, everybody getting goosebumps and time, going somewhere else where we can't see it. You know? And, oh, that was, I guess he came back all right. Well, then another friend of mine I hadn't seen for 50 years, he said we were in a bomb crater heating water, melting snow to make coffee. Well, the communications sergeant called him out. So he went up out of the hole, and he wasn't no sooner out of the hole, we heard a shot, and here he'd been shot by a sniper. And we had to leave right then. And the last I see him then, they had him putting plasma in, you know. And we never knew what happened to him. You know, after that, we got on our way. But anyway, we got out of the Ardennes, and then we come to a town called Clairvaux. This was like a horseshoe, this town. And the Germans had a ridge that ran through, it was for miles, it was high ground, see? Well, this Clairvault's down in this horseshoe thing. Well, when the Germans broke through, that was one of the first towns. And they caught these tanks. Oh, they must have been 25 tanks. And they just circled this horseshoe up here and run their tanks so they could depress their barrels enough, and they picked off every one of those tanks. And these 88s they had, they were a tremendous gun. They'd go right through the turret of one of ours and out the other side. It was like shooting through paper. And there was many of them still had the crews in them, you know, when we went through. So when we chased them down to the west wall, you probably heard of the Siegfried line. Well, that was the Siegfried line, the west wall. So we chased them down to there, and it was on the Our River. Well, that was back to where they started, so we held that line. Of course, they were, I don't know why they put us down there so close, they weren't going anywhere. They used to mortars and shell us, and it got kind of tiresome, you know, after a fashion. And then they had made a new, you could see these bunkers on the hillsides, you know, probably, oh heaven, 500, 800 yards away from up the hillside. Well, and we had this fellow the other night was in this artillery, Long Tom, you know, 155. Well, they made a new shell that was supposed to poke holes in these bunkers, you know. So they brought one of those down there. They had a tank with a bulldozer on it to dig it in, you know. And they put this 155, and we used to watch them. They'd load it and then run it up, then they'd fire it, and these shells didn't go off. They were supposed to pierce this thing. All they do is make a few little white spots on it. They'd hit it every time, and it'd just make white spots. You could hear the slug ricochet off, you know. But then they finally pulled the gun out and took it away because the shells weren't any good. They couldn't poke holes in those bunkers. But we captured a German, I think it was probably a 75 or something like that. And they had a whole pile of shells there. So you could see all the tank traps, you know, or those tank objects that they weren't supposed to go over. Well, anyway, we see them, and then there was a town behind it. So every now and then, we'd look through the barrel and line up something, and we'd sneak a shell in there and shoot that, fire that at the German. And every time we did that, they'd shoot back. We got, so we'd shoot a couple of times and jump on the Jeep and get out of there. Well, anyway, had to do something to amuse ourselves. So then we got the word about we're going to do a lot of that. Somebody relieved us, I don't know who. But anyway, by that time, I hadn't had a bath in, 42 days. Never changed clothes, didn't take my shoes off. You didn't dare take your shoes off, they swelled up before you get your boots back on. And every few days they give you a can of louse powder and you shake it down your neck with your buddy. And we never got lice or anything, but our hair was long. You wear your helmet all the time and your hair stayed in one place. You had that little old green tammy hat, you know, knit hat that you put on, then you put your helmet on. And it got pretty soon you couldn't even pick your hair up like that. Oh, it hurt, you know. But anyway, we went down into Clairvaux, into a, I don't know what it was. Anyway, it's where the nuns stayed. Well, they didn't bother that building. The Germans had enough sense not to do that. Anyway, they had these big vats down there where they washed their laundry and stuff. Well, we had to wait your turn, but you finally got a bath in one of these vats. Of course, you was in there with a couple other guys, but what's the difference? Water was wet. And we went back to Chalon-sur-Marne, you know, where the Chateau Thierry and where the old First War was fought. And we were between Chalon-sur-Marne and Epernay. It's another brand new camp they put up. And this was February something. We was there 42 days in the village. And then we went back to that camp, and we had to get replacements to bring us up to strength then. See, we lost quite a few. And, well, in Normandy, there's 240 in our company, and 95 went back to England. The others were they were WIA, wounded in action, killed in action. They were captured. Many drowned in these places where they flooded opened the dikes. And each one of these hedgerows, we'll go back to hedgerows, had big logs stuck up in them, you know, in the middle of them for gliders to come in. If a glider comes in, they'd hit those things and tear them apart, you know. And I'd seen those gliders come down, hit a hedgerow. You wondered how on earth those guys could live. But here they'd all come running out, you know. I don't know how they do it, but it was interesting there. But anyway, we went back to Chalon, and we got built up again. We did a few exercises, and we jumped a couple times. But the interesting thing is we was flying over our drop zones and stuff. You could see the trenches of the First World War, how they went. Amazing, you know. It was only, 20 years or so at that time. And I never did get Chalons or Neppin. I don't think I ever left the camp. There was nothing in those towns, you know. all the towns we went into, there was no stores or anything. But I know when we went to Normandy, they took all your money away from you. The only thing you could have, you had a driver's license, you could keep that. And they gave you $2 in French francs. They called it invasion money. Well, I carried it around for a while and got to this little old farmhouse, and I bought 2 eggs with $2 worth of French francs. What good? What very good to us, you know. So we did eat the egg. So anyway, we got to Chelan's, and we did our practicing and our jumping and tactics and all that stuff. And then they're getting close to the Rhine. They did get a bridge head at Reminiscing, but the bridge only stood up for 10 days, then it collapsed, see? And they'd made other crossings of the river, because then in certain places their line was pretty thin. They were running out of men, out of soldiers, because they blew one of the 300,000 of them in the boat, you know. And well, you know, we had a preacher once that brought his sermons Sunday morning on yellow paper like this. And after about the 4th page, about a half hour later, he still had 2 or 3 pages left. And some of the parishioners, well, you'd look over and you'd think all of them were praying, you know. Their heads would be like that. One guy shaking his watch, seeing him put his arm. Oh, crap. But anyway, I'm down to my last page here. So, well, anyway, we don't know what's going on. Nobody tells you anything. We didn't even have a sand table that time. So they put us, so they said, we got a jump coming up. Of course, it wasn't a secret like this one, like Normandy. They said, well, you're going to be attached to Montgomery's 2nd Army. He was British, you know. And we're going to jump by a town called Wesel. W-E-S-E-L. It was some kind of they brought a lot of stuff down from the Netherlands or somewhere, and that was their port. Well, anyway, the drop zone there was, I'd say it was, well, it wasn't a mile, I'd say half a mile, 2/3 of a mile. Well, field, clear it was all clear. And across, they had trenches that ran across, communication trenches in it. Well, anyway, we get on this plane at Rheims, and the whole regiment and battalion, or division, got on plane, and we're leading them. We're the first ones. And I think there was 3 planes ahead of us. They fly an echelon, you know, like that. But anyway, it's a beautiful day. Sun shining, clear as a bell, warm, and it was a good day for flying, but, you know, well, anyway, we crossed the Rhine. We went across the Rhine. Well, as soon as you got across the Rhine, you bailed out. I have another little story. I had a fellow in my outfit, his name was Fizano, Ysidro Fizano. He was a Mexican. And he sat down in the door. I don't know how high it was or how low. If he's going to jump, he's going to sit down and then slide out instead of jumping out. So he was in my section, though I'm the one that So see that your seed door don't slide out or don't set down and go out. So a couple of times before that in France we jumped, and as soon as he started squatting down and sit down, I'd hit him, push him out. Well, my job, I was a middle man, the number 9 man on the stick. There was 18 men. I had a salvo of the equipment bundles underneath the plane. I carried 6 of them. I'd slide a toggle switch. You just slid your hand down and switch. So I had to slide my hand down and get Pisano out of the door at the same time. That would work. But this time, we were going on an all beautiful day, and we jumped, and I kind of missed Pisano a little bit, and I went off the side of him. When I was upside down, I was looking at, he had the funniest look on his face. He tried to hang on, tried to sit down, but he was a good man, a good soldier. And that was his only little quirk, was he sat down in the door. Well, the plane on our right, outside right, got shot down. But when I no sooner got out and looked down, the plane was going underneath me. It was burning. And I had a lot of friends in that plane. And you could see, they had the machine guns covering this whole field. You could see the puffs of smoke going up where they were firing them. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to get between one of those puffs, you know. And well, we got down, and there was a communication ditch not far away, so we dove into that. And but then this drop zone's getting loaded with chutes, you know, paratroopers. Because they're all coming, they're just one plane after the other, you know. And kind of dies off. And then the gliders came in. There was 3,050 planes, and it took 3 hours and 30 minutes for this train from we jumped till when it ended. I mean, then the British came in with their Lancasters and Sterlings, and the Americans had Fortresses and B-24s pulling 2 gliders at once. Okay? And these British planes, they pulled these humongous gliders. I don't know what they call them. But just pull one of those. But when they got on the ground, they had a charge in them and blew the tail off, you know. And then there'd be a tank in there, or a vehicle, or a lorry or something, or a field piece, they could pull it right out. But these were one-shot deals. I mean, unless you want to glue it back on again, but it made it pretty messy when it blew it off. Well, anyway, I had to assemble my guys. I had 12 men, see, and I had to account for them. Well, one didn't show up. His name was Barrett. I asked around because, you know, he was backing me, so he would be outfitted. So I asked him, somebody says, well, he saw they got somebody went down over there and the chute didn't open, you know. So I said, I better paddle over there. So I went over there, probably from here to Golden Dawn, in this woods. And meanwhile, on the way over there, a GI had landed on a roof, on a barn. Had Germans in it. It was hot-footing it around. They were shooting up through there, trying to get them. And they finally, enough went over and got them down. The Germans were in too good shape. So I go over there, and sure enough, it was Barrett. He come down through the tree, and his chute had just had enough stuff in it where it hit the branches and stuff, where it broke his fall a little bit. And I thought he was gone. He was still alive then, but he didn't. So I said, I'll go get the Padre, Father Barrett, and go over there. So I went and got Father Barrett and took him over there. And I'll tell you another group of people that should be lauded real good are medics. I see those medics taking care of wounded. Well, they shouldn't even be there, but they're out there holding their things up, they're patching them up, and the fire going around them, a small arms fire and mortars, and they're right out there. And so I told Father Barrett, and he said, I'll get a medic. So he went over, and I figured that's all it was. So about 3 or 4 months later, I get a letter from this guy. He survived this fall. And I never thought he would do it. But anyway, then we're attached to the British Army. So if you're attached to the British Army, you do the fight, So we spearhead the attack. We go to Munster. I don't know how far it is, 20, 30 miles or something. Well, again, there the Germans are pulling back, but they're using all kind of sniping tactics and delaying tactics. Well, they blow trees down. They had this unique thing. They'd have fill a barrel about this wide, humongous thing, just a big wide wheel, and they'd fill it full of rocks or sand or dirt. And if you come to an overpass, they had 2 of those things, one here on this side, and they had them on a downgrade, and they had things holding them from rolling down, And as soon as they pulled underneath the bridge, they pulled the plugs, and these wheels would roll together, and here's this roadblock. And those things were hard to get out of the way, a tank couldn't push them out. And if you went around it, they'd get you when you went over the road out around. So that held up things. And then they're getting low on ammunition, and they're using 20 millimeter flak guns on it. And that's nasty. These flak guns, they're only 20 millimeter, but if you lay down and they shoot them over your head, boy, those little bits of shrapnel go right through your clothes, into your skin. And that was against the Geneva Conference. Well, anyway, what we did do, we found a ham one of those cured hams. Boy, we living up that time. And so we kept going, and we got into Munster. This was at night, and if you ever see fireworks at night, this fireworks you'll see at this time. I mean, there were shells going everywhere, explosive shells. So we get to the middle of town, and the town hall's there. So we go into the town hall, and there's a fire engine outside the door, and the motor's running. So, hey, turn it off. I'm going to turn it off. Booby trap. You can't tell because they booby trap anything. Well, anyway, we went in there, and we went down, and nobody up top, but down in the basement there was a bunch of rooms, and we heard people talking in this one room. So we proceeded to throw the door open real quick, and there was a whole bunch of civilians and firemen and everything in this room, and the switchboard was still working. And this lady on the switchboard said something and pulled out all the plugs. And, well, I don't know what we did that night. But anyway, the next morning, we get on truck. The British take over then. We've done our job, so let them do it. Well, the next morning, we get on trucks and we go head south. Well, we're going down this column, and 2 of the weirdest planes I ever saw in my life. went down this column. There's no engine, no propellers on them or anything. And they were only like a couple 100 feet high. And they get to the end of the column, they go right straight up into the overcast, the clouds. And that was my first jet airplane I ever saw, was that. There was one on each side. They didn't fire at us. They might have been taking pictures and stuff. Well, anyway, we got to Essen. They had it partway surrounded, and we had to surround it, you know. Well, we got into Essen and we found DP camps. Essen was a manufacturing town and they had to have a lot of people around these machines. But these camps, you wouldn't keep your livestock like they kept those people. And if you got sick, couldn't work, they shot you. And if you got old or hurt, they took you out to the bomb crater and shot you. Because you could tell where the body's in a bomb crater because the water would be all red, you know. And this one was a Polish DP camp, and this one fellow that we had to talk Polish, he was something. He had a good time. Well, anyway, they can't tell me these German people didn't know these things because they go by them every day and they see how these people live. Whether they couldn't do anything about it or they didn't dare, I don't know, but they had to know that these places were there. I mean, they were terrible. Father Barrett, he's going, pushing around the town. Father Barrett got killed with a 40 millimeter and a tank shell. One of the best fellas I know. Real good guy. Well, anyway, we stayed there for, I don't know how long. We finally closed off the gap, and then we were occupational troops. You know, this lady who talked the other night, she says the paratroopers were ugly. They're not ugly, they didn't treat them as good. Well, if she'd have seen what they saw, how they acted and what they did, how you could do it, you greet them with open arms, you know, I mean, it's pretty upset. Well, anyway, I was going to say something else. Well, we had our Colonel Timmy's was supposed to feed all these people in this town, you know. I mean, this town is flat. There's nothing there. All these buildings they're just rubble. You can't even drive around it, you know. And the Krupp Irons work, we captured him. Alfred Krupp. We didn't capture him. We put him under house arrest. And this Krupp work, it's a huge thing, miles. And then, they bombed a big, huge machine, punch presses and lathes and everything. They laid all the skew upside down, you know. And they had, our place was right behind the zoo, bird sanctuary. And they had all kind of little birds in there. And we tried to, nobody was feeding them. We tried to get stuff to give them, you know. And some of them we just opened it up and let them go. I don't know whether they lived or not. Well, anyway, we stayed there, and then one day they said everybody with 85 points go over here, the ones with less than that stay over here. Well, I had 85 points, so I went over here. And the ones with less than that stayed over there, and they were the occupational troops. And so they took us back to a town in Nancy, France, called Bamberg-Villers. And there we stayed in horse stable. Well, that's one of the, I see many houses wasn't as good as that horse stable. It was had wood paneling in it and all. Whoever had that had a lot of their horses. But anyway, we stayed there for a while, and we got on trains again. We got on a troop train this time, and we were in this 40 and 8, these boxcars, that's what they call them. Well, the one we were in had been strafed and had holes all through the roof and down the side, and we was headed for southern France, Marseille, and it rained. All the holes leaked. We stopped, tried to get them dry, and give us K rations to eat. Of course, we was going home. We didn't care. We didn't even go without food. You got out of there. Well, anyway, we got to Marseille, and I was in all these embarkation camps were cigarette names, you know, Chesterfield, Camel. I was in Lucky Strike. And before you leave, they have to pay you everything they owe you. So they paid us up. Sometimes you didn't get paid for 2 or 3 months, you know. I mean, you didn't need any money, you wasn't given a place to spend it, or your crap game or something like that. And couldn't even send it home. There was no post office there or any place you could get the money or. But anyway, and then we stayed there for a while. Oh, it must have been 4 or 5 days, I don't know. Then they said, we're ready to go home. We're going to get on the ship. So we did. Well, the thing was so crowded that we couldn't sleep. We didn't have a bunk. We slept on the deck, on the outside deck. They had wax on there, nurses and officers. They always got the inside. Us guys got the outside. But, and took us 8 days to go from Marseille to Boston, Camp Miles Standish. Well, we go to the mess hall to eat. The time we got there, they only had fruit left. We'd eat bananas and apples and oranges. That's all we had to eat. You know, of course, we didn't care. We was going home. They were good. We hadn't had much before that. And now we get to Camp Miles Standish, and we was there a couple of. First thing we walked into this mess hall, and here all these German prisoners serving us food, you know. Yeah, here they had a maid. They were over there doing things, and I don't even think they was guarding them. I just think they were there. Well, anyway, we got all we wanted to eat. And first thing we got off the ship, a Red Cross lady gave me a half pint of milk. That was the only time I ever saw a Red Cross person while I was overseas. And I mean, I never saw one overseas, Red Cross. I don't know where they stayed or what they did, but we never saw them. And then we got on a train and we went back to Indian Town Gap, Pennsylvania. Nice place. We checked in there. Next day, a lieutenant come in and said, "Who wants to go home?" Well, everybody wants to go home. But he says, "You got to come back in 5 days if you want discharge. Whatever you get after 5 days, it's up to you." So this other fellow, his name was Paisley from Warren, big guy. He was airborne. He was in my outfit. And we took the train home. The only interesting thing that was there is that the thing where this train goes around the horseshoe. You can see, you're here and you see the engine over here. And we got to Cleveland, or to Warren, and I guess my folks come pick us up, picked me up. Paisley went home. So I went back. Paisley had a car. He drove back. And when I was discharged, they offered me a permanent rank of staff sergeant. See, all rank during the war was temporary. It wasn't permanent. But they offered me permanent rank of staff and one stripe up, you know, if I would stay, if I wanted to re-enlist. Sometimes I wish I had them, you know, but that's it. But anyway, I come home, went out to see my girlfriend out in Rushville, made a few plans. Then I come back again, and I went out in December 11th, we got married, and here I am today. So I hope I didn't leave out too much. And it's way past time, look. For the 2 hours I've been talking.
Well, as usual, it went fast.
Did it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Let's, since it is getting late, let's entertain just a few questions, and then if you wish to stay and ask Gibb some more questions, that'll be great. I've got one question. Did you have any idea before D-Day of what the scope of what was going to happen? Or you didn't know until
idea.
Did they tell you on the plane at all or anything?
No.
So
We
the
didn't
office,
even know where we were going. When we got on the ground, we didn't know where we were at. We knew we were in France somewhere, but that was it, you know. And they had the sand table, but we never had French maps to tell us where they were at. Nobody bothered to look. And no, I can't for the life of me, an operation that big, how they could keep that thing a secret like they did. You know, it's amazing. All those boats, thousands of folks, airplanes. But we landed behind Utah. And Utah beach was, well, the only time I saw the beach was when I went home, you know. I mean, went back to England. But it was kind of, wasn't real heavily guarded. You know. They got into there pretty easy. But Omaha was a bad one. That's where they had every inch of the beach crossfired, you know. People died like crazy. I mean, lots and lots of them. And that's, I wouldn't want to go through it again, you know. But things like that stay in your mind. You forget a lot of other things, but you always remember that real sharp. I mean, it's, oh, so these fellows, probably a lot of these been in there, and they can know these things. But, well, anyway, any more?
Well, you didn't finish the story about Essie.
Oh, yeah, remember I said something about Essie? You know, we stopped in Alabama, and that girl wanted a pen pal. Well, Smedley she couldn't write to Smedley, but Smedley could write to her because we didn't know her address where we was going. Well, anyway, Smedley wrote Essie a letter. Well, he got a letter back signed Desi. Well, here, Essie had a twin sister, Desi. And if you don't think that's something, well, anyway, I never gave it much thought. And after the war, Smedley and Desi went to New Orleans, and I guess it was kind of a good, they had something going. So he asked her to marry him, and she did. But I never did know what happened to Essie. Well, someday, Darcy, Essie and Desi, well, anyway.
And the man you were in the crater with, you never heard anything about him for 51 years.
Oh, I know that.
Yeah, but I think you made it clear that you never heard a thing about him.
Oh, no, he was
50 years
completely out
later,
of mind.
you got together.
Well, this, I tell you about that guy hooked over eating that ice cream instead of the snow. That's before you never ate yellow snow. Well, anyway. The other day I got a letter from the regiment, or our reunion outfit. And Raskin's name was there. He lives in Elmar, California. I'm going to call him. Not tonight, but in a few days. He was quite a guy. Yeah, we had a lot of my friends died in that thing. I lived with these guys for 2 years. And it's hard to, you go out. Hey, oh, another thing, this friend of mine, Billy Barnes and Buck Thomas. Buck was killed D-Day, and Billy was killed D+3. So, and Bill Stewart, lots and lots of my friends. But
He said he didn't know anything, but there were holes in the letters I got. Things were cut out.
all your mail overseas is censored, So you can't write certain things, they just cut it out. Well, anyway. That's it?
We're glad you found Pearl.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, brought her back to Ohio.
Well, at this time I'd like to give you a big round of applause.